Hey guys, most people, they are told to trade time for money until they're too old to enjoy life. But my friend Sam Primm, he looked at that playbook and said, no, thank you. We're not going to do that. And then he went out and built over $40 million, actually probably more, in real estate assets, flipped more than 1,000 houses, scaled rentals, and now reaches millions of people every single month with his message of freedom. Listen, guys, Sam didn't wait, and neither do you. You don't have to wait for retirement. He rewrote the rule book. And if you want to quit trading hours for dollars and start building real wealth, this is your moment. Guys, welcome to the Closers Club, where real investors come to build wealth, skip the fluff, and learn how the game is actually played. Sam, thanks so much for being here. I want to jump right into it. Listen, you built a multi-million-dollar portfolio that I'm honestly envious of, and I have a pretty good one. But by doing the exact opposite of what most financial gurus preach, you use debt and leverage to grow. That alone would send Dave Ramsey into cardiac arrest. Why? Because I'm not sure that I'm on this plan, but tell me, why do you believe using other people's money is not, it's not risky, but actually the smartest way to scale fast?
Well, I think it's the only way to scale fast.
All right.
Unless you make enough money to put down on assets, you're never going to get ahead. Like,
Okay.
you know that you don't create wealth by paying off your savings account or putting money into a 401k and IRA. You build wealth through owning assets. And 99% of America doesn't have enough money to save and invest and live and throw into assets. So if you don't have it, then you need to borrow to get it. And assets create wealth. So borrow money to buy assets.
Yeah. And I've done mine a little bit different. My portfolio is built mostly off of owner financing. So just a little bit different thing. But of course, I essentially at the end of the day, that is borrowing money. But is there a limit of how much you can actually borrow from the banks? Like, is there a ceiling where you're just going to kind of max yourself out?
No, there's not, especially if you buy everything in, your LLC's names. There's zero limit to how many properties you can own. Yep. You can only own 10 in your personal name and get residential loans on, but there's unlimited amount of loans you can get in the commercial space. Your DTI doesn't really matter at that point. It's more about, does the deal make sense? And it's more asset-based lending than borrower-based lending, because I do all right for myself, but I don't do all right enough to have $30 million in debt, right? My debt to income ratio would not match that. However, they look at the asset, and does the asset produce enough cash to cover the debt? Then you get approved, because banks are business people too, especially these small local banks. They want to get an asset or a portfolio of loans, and I want to get a portfolio of assets. So it's a match made in heaven.
So is that who your preferred people to go to are? Local banks, or more like Bank of America and Regions or something like that?
Oh yeah, no, the local banks are the place to go. And it's actually shifted. I'm sure you were investing at this time, but back in the day, it was, you would get a property, go, you fix it up, you go straight to the local bank. They got great terms, flexible. They can kind of do what they want. And then their interest rates went up. The Fed funds rate went up, which is what affects small local banks' lending rates. And that kind of got a little less attractive. So then we moved on to the DSCR loans, which are more based on what the 30-year mortgage is based on. They're based on more like the treasury notes and overnight borrowing rates. So so we're able to get similar terms, actually better terms you were getting from small local banks. But small local banks built my portfolio. These DSCR loans kind of helped me refinance and refine it.
Okay. You need to slow down a little bit, because a lot of people don't necessarily understand what DSCR is. So can you kind of talk about that, and how that works, and kind of after that, how do you go to the bank and even say hey, I want to do this?
Yeah, for sure. So to break the DSCR down, that stands for debt service coverage ratio. And it basically means, does the rent cover the debt service, all of the things that go into the debt? And it's usually 1.25. So if a property has $1,000 worth of expenses, including the mortgage, and you're renting it for $1,250, that's 1.25. So that would mean that the bank will, or the lender will, lend the money to you on the deal. So it's just completely different pool of money that you're borrowing from. When you go to a small local bank, you're getting a Fed's funds backed interest rate, and you are getting a bank backed note. When you go the DSCR route, you're just going to a different whole funding pool built up of hedge funds and family offices, and built more off of what your 30-year mortgage is built off as far as the price goes. So that's why for the longest time, commercial loans with small local banks were great. You go and talk to the commercial lending division, not the residential lending division. So if you want to just go find one, go to a small local bank, First State Bank of X, Community Bank of Y, X county bank, and ask to talk to the commercial lending division, and they can do, and most of them do do, 20, 25-year loans on rental properties. Bank of
Okay.
America won't. Wells Fargo won't. I had 22 banks tell me no, David, when I started.
Really?
Because
Oh
I
my
went to
goodness.
Bank of America, I went to Wells Fargo, I went to Regions,
Uh-huh.
I went to all these places, and they're like, we're not going to give you a loan. We're not going to give you a loan unless you're living in it, you personally. We're not going to give you
Wow.
an investment loan. So you got to go to these small local banks that
Interesting.
they're run by small, business owners. They're
Mhm.
business owners masquerading around as bankers. They are very flexible in what they can do, and then they are able to be super flexible. Like they can do
Yeah.
things, what honestly within reason, whatever they want.
Mhm. So when like how for this people are going to ask this like how much will my credit matter, right? Like or other houses or my experience, or is it literally just I can rent this thing for $1,250 and my debt service, the rent, the insurance, maintenance, property manager, whatever, all those things put together is $950. Is it automatically going to qualify? What are some of the other pushbacks that people will get?
At first, you're going to need your personal credit to make an impact on the decision that they're looking at, because they have no basis on your business. If you're brand new,
Mhm.
your LLC doesn't have any credit worthiness, so they're going to peek at your personal credit score for sure. They're going to
Okay.
poke a little bit around your income. But I'm
Mhm.
telling you, after a year and a half of us doing it back in the day, we weren't asked to send any bank statements. We weren't asked. Our credit was pulled once a year.
Mhm.
And we were doing millions and millions of loans a year. I mean, I
Wow.
bought like $15 million in real estate in a 12-month period, and my credit was pulled one time. So
Wow.
it just becomes a relational game. That's a beautiful thing
Mhm.
about small local banks. You're
Right.
sitting meeting with the president. I have the owner's names and numbers in my phone that I'm able to text. It's just
Mhm.
like anything else in this game. It's relational based, and small
Right.
local banks, they need these types of loans to survive. Bank of
Mhm.
America, Wells Fargo, they package up your personal residence and they sell it off to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, and they wash their hands of it. They're done and they make a
Uh-huh.
spread. These small local banks, they hold your notes in house. They don't sell them secondary market. So they're charging you, 7%, and they're getting charged 5%. And they're making that 2% spread every single month, a little
Mhm.
bit of cash flow, just like we're making a little bit of cash flow every single month on our
Right.
rentals. So they're truly the best comparison I can make is I want a portfolio of houses and they want a portfolio of loans that they keep in house.
So you're almost partnering with them.
Yes, to a very, very good degree, and if you get in deep enough with them, they want you to win, so they're going to be
Yeah.
very flexible.
Interesting. So I would imagine they are coming to you, Sam, what are you buying today?
Yes, I think a good example of it. I'm not always a fan of Grant Cardone's stuff. Most of it I like. He's kind of a wild man, but he
Mhm.
said when like I think he said like the dot-com bubble happened, he was in like he had decent amount of debt with banks and
Mhm.
he had to navigate and it was messy. But when 0809 hit, he was in debt with hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're like, "Hey,
Right.
sir, we want to come to your office and make sure you're going to keep your money with us. We need those loans." So
Yeah.
it becomes more relational again than transactional.
Right. And I think that's something people don't understand is, bad debt is really bad for banks, right? It
Mhm.
affects how much they can borrow from the Fed or whoever, whatever fantasy world they're actually borrowing money from out there. But yeah, it affects their ability to do business. So they want you to stay current and stay on time. So does your challenge today become where do I find deals to keep this machine going?
Yeah, the challenge today becomes where do you find deals that are good deals that cash
Mhm.
flow, because we can
Yeah.
find deals. I think we bought 265 houses last year that we wholesaled and flipped. So
Dude.
we get about 400 leads a month. So we're pretty good at finding deals. But we're wholesaling and flipping a little bit more because even with everything going on, rentals can be a little bit tougher. We're able to get good financing, but the
Mhm.
cost of real estate's gone up. St. Louis
Right.
hasn't seen a dip. I mean, I think we've been tracking it for 4 or 5 years now, and I think there's 1 or 2 times in the past 4 years where St. Louis, the price has gone down year over year. So
Mhm.
it's growing steadily. Of
Yeah.
course, that means real estate taxes go up, right? Of course, that means insurance goes up because of the cost to insure. So we are getting squeezed a little bit more here, but we're
Mhm.
still adding, 15, 20 a year because we have the
Wow.
machine that brings in 265. So
Right. So, and you're doing the marketing yourself. You're not buying from wholesalers and stuff. You're doing your own.
No, we actually do. The cool thing
Really?
that we do, of the 265 houses we bought last year, 150 of them came from $0 in marketing spend. They came from wholesalers. We probably bought 60 from wholesalers. We probably bought 70 from real estate agents.
Mhm.
We bought houses from a bowling alley owner. He writes Ben buys houses above his bowling lanes and is in, the weekly drinking
Yeah.
bowling clubs with everybody and having fun with them. And something happens in their life, their parents, they inherited a house, or they hear somebody that's in a bad situation, and they call Ben. Ben calls us. We give Ben $5,000 for bringing us the deal. So
What a deal.
we pride ourselves in I feel like we're on the cutting edge of free leads. And then we obviously pay. We do TV, direct mail, PPC. We do all that stuff, but our cost per deal is lower than most because of those free leads, if that makes sense.
So obviously you're carrying a lot of rentals still. Are you seeing problems right now with vacancies with the economy? Are people pushing back on rent increases? Like what are you seeing in the rental market? I know there's a lot of conversation about that kind of nationwide.
Yeah, I would say we're doing an okay job. I think we could be doing a little bit better, but I think we're doing a pretty good job because my philosophy is I'm going to charge about 90% of rent. So if it could rent for 2,000, I'm going to charge 1,850. So I'm going to get a tenant that likes that like feels like they're getting a deal, because a good tenant, a good qualified tenant, there's more good of tenants than landlords out there. I promise you that. So a good qualified tenant knows what a good landlord looks like, and then they're going to stay. They're not going to try to get a better deal because the one down the streets, maybe something better. They're going to stay. I'm still going to raise them 3% every year after that. But the biggest expense in owning rentals is turnover. It's not.
I was going to say,
else.
I've got 5 empty right now, and I literally was going around yesterday making punch out lists and shooting some content. And yeah, it's a big pain in the ass.
Yeah, you still have mortgage, insurance, taxes. Now you have utilities, probably some repairs, but you have no income. I don't mind those things if I have income to cover them. Like our tenants stay an average of like 4.5 years, 5 years. So in a 10-year period, I got two tenants. And if somebody is like kind of maximizing rent every single month and squeezing them and being a D-hole, then they're going to have 5 or 6 tenants in that 10-year period. And I don't care if they're charging $300 more a month for me. I'm going to crush them in that 10-year period in cash flow because I only have that downtime once or twice.
Yeah. And I think that's something that's so overlooked by people, is they want to squeeze across all of investors, right? Whether you're wholesaling.
Capitalism, buddy.
Yeah, I get it. But also they don't think far enough ahead of what am I going to do if this thing, I've got one that we were at yesterday. It's been empty for like 8 months and it needs significant repairs. I'm like, shit, I got to get this thing done. It's, it's just kind of sitting here off the side because I've got so many other businesses that are running, but it has to happen. All right, man, I'm going to ask you the question of the day. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Are you an institutional buyer that Trump is going to put the fucking brakes on, or what?
I am not. No, I hope not. I mean, I own like 260 doors. Hopefully that's not the institutional level. I would assume that's in the thousands, but I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I would love to have your opinion on it, but I mean, he's also he's a wild man right now, everything he's doing, but he's also
he's off the fucking rails, but
he is freaking invading the whole world. But anyways, I mean, he's talked about 50-year mortgage and portable mortgages, and it's not just him. Obviously, I think a lot of stuff he does is crazy, but it's not just him. Every politician promises over promises over promises. So that side of him is normal as far as I'm concerned. Over promises.
He just, honestly, love him or hate him, he does it better than anybody else.
Yeah. Right? Oh yeah.
You have to at least respect that.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so yeah, I don't see it happening, especially because it's not as big of a deal. The lack of supply is much bigger than the institutional buyers. Yes. I think institutional buyers own like 1.7 or 1.8% of the properties out there. And we've dealt with them. They don't like hoard properties to manipulate the market. They would have to own, in St. Louis, I'd have to own 300,000 houses to manipulate our market. And they probably own 10,000. So it's because we've, know them and see when they come in and buy and leave and all these things. So people just assume that they're buying and hoarding and
they're the big bad wolf. Like it's somebody to be angry at.
Yeah, 100% to point your finger at. But they're not doing that. But I don't necessarily know if it's a bad thing. I know the Blackstone CEO probably thinks it's a bad thing. I think their stock got pummeled yesterday. But overall, I think it's just more hype than actual reality.
I think a couple of things. One, we're 4 to 5 million units short in this country. So that's the first thing. Like
number one,
I saw somebody post earlier today, like the real problem is we need to loosen up restrictions in these cities and with, how we get building plans and things through. 2, 100%, this is bluster to get whatever else is going on to get the news to focus on this. But the reality is these hedge funds are giving billions of dollars to senators and congressmen. There's zero chance that this ever passes. It's just the odds of it getting through are like none. But, people do complain about the hedge funds and big investors and you and me. But the reality is all of us, we're buying a house and turning around and making a rental for a family. right?
We're
And people
adding to
have
the supply. Yes.
right. Yeah. You and me, we're taking shitholes and, down the road and re-drywalling them and new countertops and granite. And, we're turning these back into usable functional units. Like I said, adding to the supply. But, the other thing, and I'd love your opinion on this, people, oh, they're buying these houses and making them rentals. I think society, our culture is moving more towards rentals and being a little transient and not having to own a property. I think that's why these build to rent communities are being so successful, because they're really nice houses that I can move into tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we're moving more towards a renter nation,
Yeah.
whether that's intentional or not. That's the way things are going, especially when
Mhm.
we have the limited supply. So yeah, I
Right.
take a house that is not livable, not occupiable, won't pass any code, and
Mhm.
I risk my money to
Yeah.
buy it and to fix it up, and then I either sell it to an amazing family or rent it to an
Mhm.
amazing family that lots of times wants to rent, doesn't
Yeah.
have to rent. Especially the tenants we get. We get really good tenants because we do stainless steel, we do granite, we do backsplash, we do LVP, we do nice fixtures. We wanted a place where someone wants to live, not has to live.
Yeah. And I've always said that too. Like even my houses that are in the worst side of town, I hate the word the hood, but I would live there. They're clean, fresh paint, clean carpet, like everything is functional. The windows locked, the doors locked, there's outlet cover, like it's clean. If I needed a $800 or $900 apartment, like, or place, I could live there. Would I want my kids and my dogs there? Maybe not, but like it's safe and clean. So, cool. Let's move on. All right, we just talked about how to use leverage to scale faster than most people think is even possible, and you're like 100% the the definition of that, right? But the deeper issue is, why you have to move fast in the first place. And I think the truth is that the traditional retirement model, it's just a fucking trap, right? People are
Mhm.
grinding it out for 40 years where your grandfather could do that and it worked, but we're doing it and you're going to end up broke and stressed and still working at Walmart at like 65. So when did you first realize that like was not a plan? Like what were you doing before real estate? And, how did you figure out that this model was a better outcome, right?
Yeah, so I was a sales manager for Caterpillar Construction Equipment.
Oh, okay.
What I was doing when beforehand, and I actually enjoyed the job, made good money, but
Hmm.
there was ceilings and places I knew I couldn't go having
Right.
to work for someone else. So I started investing on the side, then
Hmm.
went all in, and then I started digging in and started creating content because I'm crazy like you. And I'm going to give you a 60-second retirement history lesson. Okay, so pensions used to be the thing back in the 40s and 50s. The company said, you work for me for 40 years and I'll pay you for life. And it worked and it was fine. But then companies started to go out of business. We
Hmm.
had the recessions and dips, and companies couldn't pay these people and they were stuck. So the government stepped in and they said, you're going to have to follow these guidelines and put insurance on this. And then it got too expensive and companies got too greedy. So they said, no more pensions. And around that time in the late 70s, there was a gentleman that wrote a 401k code into the tax law.
Mm.
And the purpose of that was for wealthy people to put money somewhere where they don't have to pay taxes on it now, but they pay taxes on it when they pull it out. It
Right.
was never intended to be a retirement plan. Look at the book 401 Chaos, and it explains it perfectly. I read it, and it's all about how it was never supposed to be a retirement plan. It was
Mhm.
just supposed to be a way for wealthy people to pay taxes later down the line. It got adopted as a retirement plan. And then people started using it, and companies said, yeah, we'll do that instead, and we'll match a little bit. And then Wall Street said, yeah, we'll manage that. You can't touch it, and we're going to make money on it every single year. We'll manage that. And then that was in the late 70s. When did the baby boomers come into the equation? The late
Yeah.
70s. That's where they got to the
Yeah.
workforce. The baby boomers are retiring now. The median 401k is $95,000. So this is
Is that
they're
it?
showing that this is a failed experiment. So the median, which takes into away those super high
Mhm.
CEOs making millions of dollars a year, the median, which is the closest you'll get to average American, is retiring with 95 grand in a 401k that they've contributed to for 40 years. Wall Street,
That's really it? That's a
yeah,
real number, dude?
yes,
Holy
95. Look it
shit.
up. I've looked up on several places. The median is 95 fucking grand. And people are just realizing it because the baby boomers are just starting to graduate or just starting to retire. So they're seeing that there's nothing in there. And the median IRA is like 100. So there's other retirement and people hopefully own their house, but the average American is retiring with 200 grand in their retirement fund, and it's just not working. Now, obviously, people know the outliers, and a lot of people have more than that because they make more than the average American. But it's just a failed experiment. It is what it is. We tried it. Pensions worked. People got greedy. People got greedy here because
Mhm.
I think of study I saw like 30% of what you make goes to the to Wall Street to
Right.
just scrape off the top every single year, and you can't even touch it.
Whether you win or lose, they're taking their money.
And you hope there's not a dip when you want to retire. You're going to work a couple more years. It's
Right.
really is a fucking joke. It really, really is. So
I didn't realize it was that bad. I'll be honest with you.
I've got read the book 401 Chaos and look up all that stuff. Everybody just Google it, go to ChatGPT. It just asks for the median 401k, and they're going to spit out between 90 and 100 grand.
Dude,
So
that's fucking stunning. What are people going to do?
I think society always moves forward and people figure it out. I think it's just the timing of universal basic income, AI coming in. I think it's all going to end up working out, but it's wild. It's not going to look like it used to look. That's for damn sure.
I'm fucking stunned by that. I got to be honest with you. That rocked me a little bit. I just assumed people had a couple $100,000 in there, and then they sell their house and they bank another couple $100,000, and maybe they can live. Are people just going to keep working till they're 70? I mean,
that would be Walmart greeter on those nice foamy pads you get to sit there on. So I think about doing that sometimes. It'd be kind of nice.
Dude, I'm going to tell you the truth. This is so off topic. I used to work for like 84 Lumber and Pro Build, and my fantasy is this. I want to go back and work at the counter because I love building. I love looking at plans and doing takeoffs, and I just want to talk to the contractors as they come in and bullshit. And then I'm like, man, what am I going to do when I want to go to St. Louis and visit my buddy Sam? I'm going to have to put in vacation time. Like, I just like the whole fantasy falls apart really quick. Yeah, dude, I would love a job like that where you just don't have to worry about anything. You just show up and then go home in the afternoon. But
I'd love to sell
I think we're built
pics. Would be my dream, just being able to sell pictures of my feet, not having to worry about anything else.
That's the only thing I have that I would actually post. So I think that'd be good. What do you think about like the government? What are they saying? Privatizing Social Security and rolling it into 401k. I mean, that doesn't sound like it's going to be that much better either.
No, I don't think so. I haven't done as much, so I don't want to talk out of turn. I haven't done as much research on Social Security, but I know the average Social Security check is like less than $2,000. It's like $1,900, which will help. But the math is the math. We're going to run out unless something happens. So I need to do way more research on it. That I've researched plenty, that 401k story I told you, but there's going to have to be some type of universal basic income or something, which will just cause more inflation, which will just cause the assets that me and you own to go up even more. So.
Yeah, again, so to circle all the way back, another fucking good reason why you should be buying real estate. I think I did a reel on that yesterday. Like, I had some properties that we were sitting in front of, and I bought them in 2017 for $32,000. Guaranteed right now, I could wholesale that thing tomorrow for $80,000. With doing nothing, like in bad condition.
Tripling it in a handful of years.
Yeah, and if I rehabbed it, 120, maybe 150. Like it sounds crazy because when I bought it, I never thought it would have gone up that far. And one thing that people are, when I post reels or whatever, people are always like, well, if I bought stuff in 2010, I'm like, bro, buy shit now. It's going to go up even faster.
Yeah, no, it doesn't really have anywhere else to go but up. I remember, were you investing like 2018, 19 timeframe?
Most of the stuff I bought a ton from 2010 to 2014. And then the last big batches I bought were in 2017, 2018. Yeah.
Okay. So like 2018, 2019, the Fed's funds rate like clicked up like a tick and the market like paused for a second. Like it was the Fed's funds rate up like a quarter or half a point. And I remember looking around, like everybody stopped buying. It was like, holy crap. And then things settled down a little bit. But what happened after 2021? The freaking Fed funds rate skyrocketed and that didn't crash the market.
No.
So the point is we're sitting on such a low amount of inventory and everybody knows it now that the Fed's funds rate went crazy and real estate basically leveled out. It didn't even really dip overall. The median stayed pretty much the same across the board for the past 3-4 years. So that's the biggest moving needle here is inventory. And unfortunately you can't policy your way into inventory. Even if they open up the policies, it's going to be 3-4 years to get probably half of what they need. It's just not something that can happen.
I mean, this is the problem. And this goes back to, I started this in 2002 and I saw what happened because I worked in the industry, building materials industry, when the crash happened. I was in Orlando, bro. It was fucking bad. I'm just telling you, when people talk about they think the economy's crashing, I can't even roll my eyes back far enough because I went through it. Everything just stopped, especially like, let's just talk about Florida. The economy there is based on 3 things. It's tourism, construction, and agriculture and livestock. Like people don't know Florida's like the 3rd biggest livestock state. But when the crash happened, I'm telling you, fucking Lennar and Pulte would have, subdivisions of 1,000 homes. It just stopped. Like there was nobody. It was dust clouds rolling across there. So construction stopped, tourism stopped. Like Disney shuttered whole sections of their park that have still never reopened. So all you had was agriculture. It was a three-legged stool. It just fucking collapsed. Well, that happened all over the country. So what happens is from what, '09 to maybe like 2013, 2012, like nobody broke ground. Like no new construction was happening. No apartments were going up. Nothing happened. But you know what people were still doing? Having kids and fucking, right? So population didn't
Always.
stop. Yeah, right. It got more. They did more when times are bad. They have more kids. So, I use that as an example, like construction stopped, but the population kept growing. And then, Obama came in and, they've had a bunch of plans. We're going to give you $2,000 or $20,000 for, to buy your first house, whatever it is, which was great. But you can't build enough houses, like you just said, to catch up with that population growth. So we've been chasing inventory at a deficit for the last 10 years, right?
Yeah.
This is why we're in the problem we're in now.
The study I read that was from 2008 to 2018, they started building in 14 and 15, like you said, but they didn't pick up the equal pace for 10 years, like the pace that needed to happen. So they started, but 18 that finally were making enough houses but there's a 10-year gap where they weren't, because builders got crushed and they got a little bit of cold feet, which I understand to a certain degree. But I think that one of the biggest things that can help is just like deregulating. I think like 40% of the cost to build a house is regulations and permits and codes and costs and holding money because you're waiting for this and that. So that I think will help. But again, there's just not enough. There's in my opinion, there's a pretty high floor and maybe a low ceiling, but pretty high floor and potentially low to mid ceiling on real estate prices. So
yeah, I think one of the things that I did realize when I worked for HD Supply, they said the biggest opportunity, and this was back in 2007 or 8, the biggest problems in our country is our water and sewage systems. That they're all 100 years old, like Flint, Michigan's. It's going to happen in more places. And I mean, I get it. Cities are nervous about dropping in new subdivisions every place, but yeah, we just need massive infrastructure overhaul. Like we are just not built for it. And you're going to start having more just water pipes, just going sideways. And so we've got problems all over the place that somebody needs to address. So
go ahead and do it, David. I'll vote for you.
Dude, I don't want any part of being in politics. Like I can't imagine why anybody would want to do it. Like
power, man. It's all about power.
I guess, man, I get, and I think some of them get into it for the right reason.
Probably,
but they want to, they want to help. And, but I think, they start at that local activist level, but by the time you get up to like the state level and then the federal level,
bought and paid for at that point,
dude. And you can't even help it. Like, I think it's just a slow erosion. I don't think any of them, I don't want to say that. Certainly some of them don't go into it with that intention, but yeah, it's just constantly, let me fly you here. Let me tell you how great my pharmaceutical company is. It'll be absolutely.
Here's a couple $1 million, how great it is kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely gets out of control. So yeah. So 401ks are done. What's the answer? I can tell you the answer for me. I was on with a new accountant the other day, and he's like, yeah, do you have 401k or stocks? I'm like, nah, a little bit, not much. What do you got? 87 rental units. That's what I got. Mine are a little different than yours. Mine will all be paid off in the next 6 years.
That's incredible. I used to be like, I want to own $1 billion in real estate, and we were crushed our way to that. But now that with this little bit of a hiccup we've had and the general market the last couple of years, I think I have a few paid off ones, but our plan was just growth. I got probably about 60% loan to value right now. So good. Decent, but I think we'll probably continue to buy, but I think our plan now is to try to have like 10 or 15% of our portfolio paid off, just so we're kind of covering the downside, if that makes sense. So I think real estate, I really do think it's not just because both you and I are in the industry. I think real estate is really the only way to do it because I think crypto's got some future, and I own actually quite a bit of crypto, but you still have to pay enough money, right? Putting $100 a month into Bitcoin, that might help you retire in 50 years, but it's not going to help you in the next 2 or 3. Right. And my whole reason for putting out stuff is to help people enjoy life now and be able to retire early, not either or. I want to help people build that, both and life, not that either or life. So I think real estate's really the only way to do that, unless you're making 500 grand a year and you can put 50 grand into Bitcoin, then maybe that's better. But how many people make 500 grand a year, right? And you still should be investing in real estate because of the tax savings and the appreciation and debt pay down.
Yeah, I don't know of anything else that can. You can start with nothing. I tell people I was half a broke when I started, literally half a broke. Like I had jack shit.
You weren't in a full broke.
Dude, I was running around tacking up bandit signs and, taking calls on my cell phone, just trying to hustle my way to some kind of success. And luckily we were able to do it. But yeah, I mean, I say that all the time. Like, first off, I go buy Microsoft or Tesla, whatever stock, pick your stock. I'm buying it at full value. If it's $100, I'm paying $100 and I have no control over what the CEO at the top of some building does with they get caught with some boy and that's the end of they lose 30% market cap overnight because they are in some scandal or they're on Epstein Island or whatever it is. But real estate, I can buy for no money down, do it all the time. And real estate, I can go over there, I can touch it, lick it, feel it, check it out, smell it, crawl underneath it. It's a real tangible asset. And I can buy it at 60 cents or 50 cents or 40 cents on the dollar. So I don't know of anything that's better. I challenge anybody to have that argument.
Well, don't lick your real estate. B, it goes.
Lead paint is real. That's why I'm losing my hair.
Yes, that's it. Well, it does four things that no other investment does at the same time. It goes up in value. Over the past 75 years, real estate's gone up in value 95% of them. So it goes up in value no matter what long term. Somebody else is paying down the mortgage, so your equity doubles. And then you're getting cash flow. And the most important thing for me is you're getting tax savings.
Yes.
And then to throw the cherry on top, like you just said, you don't have to use any of your own money to do it. No investment covers three of those things, let alone all five. So
right. I was when I was coaching and mentoring, and I was back in the days before Zoom, and I was running around the country. I was in San Jose, and I was at this meetup with our student, and there was this old guy sitting on a stool, and now I realize I'm probably the old guy that's sitting on the stool. But these young kids were like trying to test him, like, oh, what percent of ARV are you buying? And the guy's like, I don't know, 100, 110, doesn't matter to me. And they're like, why? Because I'm buying for cash flow. And I'm not buying to, sell it in 2 years. I'm buying this for 40 years, 50 years. I'm buying this to pass on to my grandkids. And over time, the market is going to go up. The tenants are going to pay it off. And I'm going to get the appreciation and the tax flow. And, you almost can't screw up. If the market is very forgiving over time. You just got to make sure it cash flows today.
Yeah, because cash flow goes up over time. We did a study on our stuff. If you raise rent 3%, expenses go up. Our expenses went up at 1.7%. So you're getting ahead every single year.
Right. Yeah. And over time, again, the biggest thing, and this is the thing when I'm talking to sub 2 people, make sure you got a fixed rate. If you got a fixed rate, it's hard to lose.
Yeah. If you buy it right. Yep. You're right.
Yeah. So on the properties you're buying, are you using private money to buy them up front and then doing like bank refi, or how are you structuring it?
Yep. Private money. Maybe I don't think we use much hard money. I think 90% of what we use is private money, just for the purchase and rehab. And then, we'll do that DSCR loans right now. We haven't done many small local bank ones recently, but we'll do those DSCR loans on the back end and boom, we're done. We have the machine built that's buying, our goal is 310 this year. So I get why people, it's harder to scale a single family, and we do own multifamily, but I mean, why would we not? If we already have the rehab crews, we already have the property management in-house. Everything's in-house. So Luke's and I, my business partner, we just, pick off a couple rentals a month that makes sense in the 15 or to 30 that we're buying that month.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I've got apartment complexes. I've got single families. I don't have any commercial or storage units. Yeah. My apartment buildings, it's awesome. There's the economy of scale. It's one roof. Of course, that one roof, when it goes bad, is fucking expensive. But, also if I wish I'd have never sold any of my properties. But if I just want to sell one off, it's a lot easier, and I'm not having to deal with you who's going to come in and nitpick the fuck out of my apartment building. I'm selling it to, Joe and Susie, and they're going to live in it. And it's just an easier sale. And I can push the value up as high as I want. So I don't agree with the people who are like, do not invest in single families. I think that's a solid future.
Yeah, it's just much more liquid. And I think everybody has to start there. You really do. You have to learn the ropes of lending, having, confidence in your ability to manage, or whoever you're going to have manage it, and just build the relationships with contractors and buyers and sellers and everything. So yeah, you can, when you sell that single family, you got all residential buyers, which is 99% of people or 90% of people. And then you also get potential investors you can sell to. When you have that 24 unit, 0 residential buyers, and you just have a small subsection of people that actually want to buy 24 units. So
and they're the hardest people.
Yeah, much more liquid. I fully agree.
Yeah. Have you sold any properties that you regret?
Not necessarily that we regret. We just sold. So our single family rental portfolio is like 165 maybe. So
Yeah.
what we've been doing is selling off some of the like older ones that we bought. And like we bought a 27 pack of houses in 2018. We
Yeah.
bought a 42 pack of houses in 2021. And obviously that many houses, there's going to come with some stinkers. So
Yeah.
we bought them and refinanced them, and they need 40 grand to be
Mm,
rent ready. It's like, we'll sell those. And
yeah.
then we sold a couple of our apartment complexes, two of them,
Really?
a 32 unit and a 9 unit. They were just super old buildings, like
Hmm.
super old. Like one was built in the late 1800s,
Oh, wow.
downtown St. Charles, and the other one was built in like the 40s. And it just the roofs were going bad, and they were our first two apartments we bought, so we had
Hmm.
plenty of equity in them. It was kind of nice to get some of that equity out,
Yeah.
but the other ones, the other five that I own are nicer, newer, more
Hmm.
B plus class, A minus classes that we're going to
Yeah.
keep those.
Did you do a lot of refinancing when rates were at 2, 3, 4%?
Oh yeah. So speaking
Really?
of small local banks and the flexibility, so we went to a small local bank, and most of them were doing like 25 years at like 4.5%, 5% back in the
Mhm.
day, with like a 3-year arm on it, which is adjustable rate. It
Right.
adjusts in rate after 3 years. But we negotiated with one of the owners of the bank to take our entire portfolio. I think at the time it was like 18 million in debt, or 17 million in debt.
Mhm.
And he gave us 30-year fixed rate over 30 years over 10 years fixed at 3.95%. And we pulled out $2.1 million, and we got like, we're still, with interest rates doing what they did, we're locked in at 3.95 for
Mm.
probably what, 6 more years, 5 more years.
Yeah.
That gives us so much flexibility than a
Yeah.
3-year arm that would have adjusted. So that
Yeah.
was one of the our mentor told us to do. That was one of the smartest things we did. Just
Yeah.
got, well, now we've added higher debt recently because of the rates, but that is what
Right.
it is.
So for me, going through, 2007 and 2008 and 2009, and seeing people just get absolutely fucking destroyed, like huge portfolios just wiped out because they were over leveraged. That was always a big fear of mine. So the way that I did my business is, I was broke and I'd had a foreclosure, so I wasn't getting bank loans for anything. That's why most of our stuff is owner financed. And the beauty with that is I can make any terms I want. So I started when I was 39, really buying a lot of properties. I was an old fucking guy, and I didn't want to be doing 30-year loans. I didn't want to be doing it till I was 70. So I was very conscious to have the most compressed amortizations that I possibly could. So for me, if it like cash flow $200, like
Yeah.
I locked it in. But again, like we didn't know real estate was going to 5x in value over the next couple of years. So for me, that's why most of my stuff is getting ready to pay off really soon. Very, very few that actually
That's
have.
freaking
I
awesome.
refied them. It is awesome, but I had mentors, you know, whatever it was 4 years ago, were like, you should refinance everything. You could pull out like $2 million. I'm like, well, first off, if I pull out $2 million, I got a fucking job, because now I got to go buy $2 million more worth of property because I don't want to waste that. But the other thing is like, man, I just want these things paid off. Like I saw people that over leveraged and got killed. That scares me to my core. So for me, I'll be thrilled to death to have, 60, $70,000 a month growing in cash flow every month without having that debt underneath it. So that's where I'm probably a little bit different. You're younger though, and probably a little more aggressive than I am in my old age.
Yep. When you get old, you get a little bit slower. That's okay. You're enjoying life. You're rocking it. You're getting in shape, and you're crushing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I just didn't want to do that. But all right, let's move on to the fun stuff. So
Okay.
this is really, and this is where Sam is my mentor and has absolutely helped me so much, but he's not out there just building assets. He's building just this massive content engine with, dude, insane reach. You're absolutely crushing it online with, I don't even want to say, because I don't think I have the right number, but over 10 million views, right? A month across
Yeah, I've been
all the
averaging between
platforms.
like 15 and 25 million. Yep.
Oh, shit. Between what, all of them? Like you're on X, dude. I looked yesterday at 153 followers on X after you mentioned it, but across, TikTok and YouTube and Threads and
Mhm.
Instagram, Facebook, all the stuff. And, your knack is turning simple, real world real estate investing, into, manageable bite-sized chunks that people can understand. And I remember following you before I even saw you on stage down in Tampa, and you're making just a huge difference. And that's really rare for real estate investors. Most of us can't figure out how to do this and do it to grow our business and to bring in private money. So that's what I want to talk about is, you know, what made you think to even start going to social media? Because I was very resistant to do it in the beginning. I don't think people talk about it enough or understand how to do it, where not only do you have a bunch of followers, but how you take that, and like we talked about yesterday on our call a little bit, but what's the next step and how do I monetize that so that it's, it's returning back to me?
Yeah, so I started, honestly, I wanted to grow a YouTube channel because Luke's my business partner, and I spoke at a local meetup, and how we
Mhm.
went from 0 to 100 doors in 5 years. And we just got blown up with people wanting to learn more and more and more. You guys are actually doing, you're not just talking about it, and it blew up our
Yeah.
personal Facebooks. So we started like business Facebook. And then I was like, hey, I want to create a YouTube channel. And every YouTube video I put out is like another rental. I'm making a
Mhm.
couple $100 a month cash flow on it. But
Really?
unfortunately, I suck at YouTube, or did suck at the time, and I was
Mhm.
getting no traction. So I was like, I saw some people with big followings, a lot of views on like Instagram and
Mhm.
on TikTok at the time, right when TikTok took off in like 2020, 2021 timeframe. So I created those accounts to get more traction, to lead people to YouTube. That was the whole
Mhm.
reason. And I
Mhm.
figured what you figured out, that I have a much better knack for short form content and taking
Yeah.
like a complex topic and making it
Mhm.
simple and monetize, or appetizable, or what's the word? Digestible. Making
Digestible.
it
You
digestible.
were close with
I,
appetize.
I
We
was
were in the right
getting there. I
area.
was getting there. So I figured I just kind of stumbled into having a better knack for that, and those kind of have grown, and those have helped feed my longer form stuff. But yeah, I luckily had some other companies that were making money, and I focused for, you know, 2, 3 years,
Mhm.
35 hours a week on social media. Legit, my thumbs still don't work quite right because I spent so much time on my phone. And
Yeah.
now I spend a lot of time on it, especially with the mastermind that we're talking about.
Mhm.
Kind of re-engaged myself over the past 6 months, and
Yeah.
my numbers have gone up like crazy. Like one month I got 35 million views. Right, last month I
Jeez.
think was like 18 or 19, but it's always between that 15 and 30 million, which is pretty crazy for
Mhm.
reach. Followers are great, but it's all about that reach.
It is, and this will be, all over stuff. So if you guys want a little invitation to this mastermind, I know there's only a couple of spots because you don't want it filled up. But comment mastermind underneath this. But I will tell you this: this is what I just pulled up to look at. And I've showed you this. My views on Instagram were Matthew 38,000 in June. 48, 38, 40, less than 50,000.
Okay.
And I thought I was hot shit. I'll be honest with you, with 179,000 followers, I thought I was a pretty big deal. And right now it's showing, and I could screenshot this, last month, 576,000 views in the last 30 days, which is still not jack shit compared to your 30, 35. But dude, that's 10x growth.
Hmm.
And 100%, it's because of you in this mastermind. There's zero chance that I could have even, I was losing followers. Like my peak was 218 and I was just slowly eroding. And now we're holding steady and actually growing something. So I appreciate that. But what do you think is is there a secret? Like what is it that people need to do?
Well, the secret is the secret's in the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
The number one reason why most people's content doesn't do what they want is because they over edit, they over simulate. People don't want to be, they don't want to have to be confused when they're watching. They're
But there
doom
was a time
scrolling.
when that worked though,
Yeah, but there was
right?
a time when that worked, but now
Yeah.
it's so inundated, people on their phone so much. You should go to their phone for social media,
Yeah.
okay? So they're fine to learn. But now they go to their phone for Fox News, for
Yeah.
CNN, to pay for things, to listen to
Mhm.
podcasts, to watch
Right.
YouTube TV. They're on their phone all the time, and when they go to social media, they want to see a comedian, then they
Yeah.
want to see a girl dancing around, how they like that. They want to
Mhm.
see, a sports replay. They want to see
Yeah.
all this stuff. They don't want to have to be like, they don't want to be confused. They just want the mental masturbation. They just want to
Yeah.
sit there and scroll with their thumb and just not have to think too hard, laugh, giggle a little bit.
Mhm.
And then you got to sneak in, simple ways to educate them with a powerful hook and a good deliverability.
Mhm.
And you've seen it with your static posts. The
Mhm.
simpler, the better. All of those static posts,
Dude,
you could
stunning.
have put, David, you could have put an image behind it that moved a little bit, and you
Mhm.
could have put the text in kind of goofy letters that with lightning bolts around them, and I
Yeah.
promise you they would bomb. So
Yeah.
you have a black background with white lettering and a couple underlines. That's how
Yeah.
simple you need to be. The number one
Yeah.
boat that people miss on is they overdo it. You just need to
Yeah.
simplify it.
Well, and I think, and that's where it was in 2000 or 2021, whatever, when I started. I think, Sheik, he came in, he's like, hey, I want to do short form content. I'm like, man, I don't, I got a face for radio. I don't want to be doing this stuff. And 10,000 followers isn't going to like help me sleep at night. Can we monetize it in the sense of, will it draw people into our business and coaching and, in our transactions company? And I think we got lucky because we had those super highly edited videos at the time that, we were part of that growth, and it was great. We rode the wave, but that was something I think I was one of the first people in the mastermind to get critiqued, and it was a little brutal, but I remember huh? No, it's okay, man, dude. I'm a great student. I'm fucking coachable like no one's business. And, that was one of the things that you said, and we immediately put that into action. And dude, it was stunning how fucking simple that advice was, but how accurate and on point it was, and how much it really helped. So I appreciate that, and everything that, the static post too. It's been amazing.
Well, you're the best implementer in the group. You take it, you don't ask questions, and you just go with it, and you see the results. Some people are a little bit, it takes them a little bit longer to come around. So you're like, hey, I'm in this mastermind. I'm paying this guy. I'm going to listen to his advice and see where it goes. And I've joked that I feel like my, almost 4 million followers and my social media is more rare and almost harder, not harder, but just more rare, maybe harder to accomplish than my real estate, like my, $48 million rental portfolio, just because lots of people own real estate, but very few people have a good presence on all the major platforms that nobody knew their name. An actor, Messi, Ronaldo, all these people that you see on the TV, and they go create an Instagram account. Yes, they're going to get followers and millions of views, and they can just be sitting there smiling with their kids doing a peace sign. They're going to get 5 million views. Yeah. But going from nobody knowing your name to actually starting to get a name, that's I think a little bit harder. So once I realized that I think this skill set is more rare than my real estate skill set, that's when I really started to focus on the social media skill set.
Yeah, I think you're right. For me, when I hit that 200,000 mark, I'm like, oh shit, this is a real thing. I don't think I could duplicate it. I don't think today I could start from zero and duplicate it. And I get it. Like, everybody follows certain things. I'm like old, chubby, trustworthy guy who's actually done the business. So I think that's what resonates with certain people, but I would never, I protect it really. A couple times I was getting smart with people, and Instagram, like flagged me a little bit, and I'm like, oh, like they will shut this shit down. Like I'm not going to do that.
It's hard not to sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Now I just get snarky and funny with them, but, it's definitely, it'd be incredibly difficult to reproduce it. I think to me, it's lightning in a bottle, and I'm happy to have what I have and grow it from there. But yeah, it's definitely something to do. But, as far as the stuff that I've done in the mastermind, again, like in all of my businesses, and probably like you, I have a great team around me that, Matthew does a fantastic job. But he really implements everything, even when I can't be on the calls. So I think it's all good advice. But what do you think is the future for social media? Like, is there going to be another Instagram or Snapchat or whatever come out? Or
I think there will be. There will be some app that will figure out AI. That Sora 2 we talked about. I feel I've glanced over that a couple of times. It just hasn't figured it out. There's just they're weird videos. There's no really virality to them. There's no really bingeableness to them. They're just kind of goofy. I think Instagram's been on the cutting edge with stuff more than any other platform. Recently, TikTok's gone a lot more towards like live shopping and being able to sell things. They're trying to.
I have a cousin that crushes it. With
a lot of people do. It's like Amazon mixed with Instagram or whatever you want it to be. But I think that people are going to lean more towards authentic content. I think there's always going to be a filter where they're going to be able to see that it's AI content, even if you can't tell. Like you can still tell now for the most part, but if you can't tell, people like you called yourself the chubby old trustworthy guy. People like I talk too quickly. You called me out earlier. I slur a little bit. I mumble sometimes. People are okay with that. They don't want your news anchor style AI content. They want to feel that you're a real authentic person. And until AI can get to that point, which I'm sure it can at some point, but I think the apps will filter for that, because the apps don't want 10 million posts extra a day to try to get people's attention, because you can create content unlimited with AI. So I think it's going to, like most things, go back towards those authentic people that care and want to create content that do it at a reasonable level.
Yeah, I agree. And I did tell Hannah before we got on here that I need to make sure I was focused, because you talk really fucking fast and I have no distractions. But I do agree. I think everything is a pendulum, right? Like I think we've swung into the AI, and parts of it are great, right? Like
Mhm.
the what is it? The gorillas that run around the jungle.
Yeah,
Fantastic. I
they're
will
so
watch every
funny.
fucking one of them. But
Uh-huh.
then you see other stuff and you're like, something feels just a little bit off. But you know Nick Perry, right?
Mhm.
Like 20 million views last month,
Yeah.
and a lot of it is AI generated. So yeah, like I don't know where the line is going to be, but I do think there's gonna maybe have to be some kind of filter where people like, I just want authentic, I just want to see real people. And that's why I'm not completely convinced that AI is going to take over everything. Right.
Yeah.
Because what is it going to be like? My AI is talking to your AI. Like it's like we go into a Zoom and there's all the recorders in there. Like nobody's watching that.
No.
Nobody's going back, the Otter AI and all, and Claude and all of that stuff. So yeah, I do think, man, I don't want to say AI is not going to be as good as a human because it's getting really fucking great. Chat
But it
GPT.
doesn't experience things, David. Like,
Right.
we have to experience things. It can't experience
Yeah.
something for you. It
Right.
can do something for you,
Yeah.
but it can't experience something for you. And Dan
Mhm.
Martell had a really good quote
I love
of
Dan.
of AI not being able to do what people think, and he knows
Mhm.
more. He's like, AI can't paint the Mona Lisa. You know why? Because it doesn't know when to stop. Humans, you
Right.
know what I mean? Who knows? Like
Yeah.
another 5 hours on that, it maybe
Mhm.
wouldn't be as famous as it is, right? Or 5 hours
That's a
less.
great
So
example.
knowing when to stop on anything, honestly,
Yeah.
business, anything that's creative, knowing
Mhm.
when to stop is part of it. And AI is not going to know that.
Yeah.
How
Yeah, I
could they?
don't think AI can take over everything. Like even when I'm, working on presentations or stuff, like it can give me stuff, but I have to go in and say, "No, that's not exactly right. Here's what you know what I mean?" You have to add your own experience and
It's a
wisdom or
tool.
whatever it
It's not
is.
the vehicle. It's the
Right.
tool. It helps you drive safer, faster, more efficiently, whatever. But it's not the
Yeah.
actual. It's not the whole vehicle, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
we could be wrong. AI could be laughing its asses off at us right now.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? But I do agree. I think authenticity um, is what works. And your reels you're very like direct,
Mhm.
on the phone, chopping stuff up. And I mean, you put out amazing stuff, and it's stunning how quick that you can post stuff. How important is that, like being like in the moment? So let me ask you this. I think this would be a great idea for an app. I was watching one of these not a reality show, but it was, I can't even remember. It was, what's that thing on Netflix? Black Mirror or something, like
Oh
something
yeah,
kind of like
I
that, right?
watched a couple of those and they freaked me out too much. I stopped watching them.
Yeah, yeah, they're really, really weird. But where it was like you had an app and randomly it would pop up and you had to make a video within like 10 seconds of what you're doing right at that moment. If you're on the toilet, if you're in Walmart, whatever it was. And I'm like, man, that would be a great idea for an app for just authenticity,
Mhm.
right? And if you didn't, like, if you missed two, you were like booted off the app and you couldn't even watch other people's shit. I think that would be a great idea for an app that you just see people in their real lives. And that's why the Kardashians, I get it, it's fake, right? But that's why reality TV took off, because people wanted to see what your kitchen looked like.
Mhm.
What are you really doing?
No, I agree. I think what the point you're kind of getting at is, yeah, I think the authenticity and on the spot stuff is the best. I've
Mhm.
tried both. I don't batch. I know a lot of people batch. They'll shoot 2 weeks worth of
I
content in an
batch sometimes.
afternoon.
Yeah,
I've never had luck with it, and I think it's more a personal thing. But I just
yeah,
like to, and I do simple edits, so my team or I
mhm,
can edit stuff very very quickly.
yeah,
But I like that just fluidity. To me, it feels more
mhm,
natural. You can get right on top of topics, like you said. Sometimes I
mhm,
act quickly because I might not have a post. I have
yeah,
2 posts on my phones right now. That's it. Like, so I got to
mhm,
create if I want to put out more content, which I put out 2 to 3 pieces a day. So,
yeah,
and I'll go back and take old content, which I've talked about that
mhm,
at length with you.
mhm.
I'll take old content and kind of repost it and recut it up a little bit. But yeah, I like that on the spot. I love that idea for that app. That on that spot authenticity
Dude,
is
that's fantastic. We should do it.
it
I think
works
it'd be
for
great.
me for sure. So
Yeah. Awesome. Sam, I appreciate it, man. Where can people follow you at? Because I know
well, I've
that.
been knocking on his door for a year to get on his podcast, just so everybody knows. I sent mail,
Oh
I
my
wrote,
God.
I sent
We're
a
blaming
carrier
that on Hannah, but
I got carrier pigeon. I show up to his
mhm,
office, he wouldn't let me in. So,
yeah.
anyways, if anybody wants to, I would say just follow me on whatever platform you're on. I don't.
Mhm,
If you don't go on Instagram, don't go follow me on Instagram
yeah.
and never go back. So,
Right.
whatever app you're on, just look up Sam Primm or Faster Freedom,
Mhm,
and just shoot me a follow and see if you dig my stuff. And you can shoot me a
nice.
DM because I'm very very active in my DMs. No one's in there
Mhm,
pretending to be me. I do
right.
get help, but as far as a conversation that we're going to have, it's going
Right.
to be me talking to you. So just go there. Instagram is probably the best place if you do go on Instagram.
Nice. Sam, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you coming on. This was a big deal to get you on here, and I know that you're busy and running a ton of different companies, so I appreciate it, guys. So much good information here, but you know, I mean, whether it's buying houses or, trying to find a better way to retirement so that you're not the person working at Walmart. And then some of the best advice I ever got years and years ago was, if you're in this business, you have to let people know. Right. Nobody's
Mhm.
going to secret sleuth, Sherlock Holmes their way into figuring out that you're out there wanting to buy houses and help sellers with their properties, or that you want to run the best bagel shop in, whatever town you're in, or whatever it is. So you have to get on social media and you have to tell people, and people they want to see real life. They want to see that you're out there actually doing the thing. So pick up your phone, record some stuff, post it out there. You're going to suck the first time. The first time I did a couple of Zooms, I was fucking hyperventilating for like 45 minutes before, and just in a broken cold sweat by the time it was over. But the more you do, it's like a muscle, and you just get better at it. And Sam, you definitely helped us and our business just really launch our social media, and hopefully I'm sure that it will continue to grow. So I appreciate that, and appreciate you coming on, man.